everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar on this episode to talk about the future of the software supply chain in this new year, 2024. Okay. During this hour, we are going to count on the support of these three experts that we have here, just to review the landscape of the evolution of the software supply chain, software development, and the distribution of the software, where we are viewing or we are detecting a growth on the software supply chains attacks. Okay, we are going to review about four main topics. One is that the attacks in this context are becoming more prevalent. The customers are using artificial intelligence to find new vulnerabilities. Developers are using to code systems like Copilot and these other support mechanisms. So we are perceiving new threats in the landscape, and we have to detect and to improve our defense mechanisms in order to support these new ways of attack our context for the software development. The other topic is the visibility, where we are going to talk about the relevance of knowing what we are protecting, all the assets in our ecosystem, and all the things that could be attacked in this part. And therefore, sure, as always, the third-party risk management and the insider threats. So the third-party components and third-party assets are something very important. Is the way we interconnect with the world through our providers and through our customers. So we have to ensure the end-to-end security and to ensure that everything is protected along the full supply chain. Okay. For this, to review these things, just let me introduce you Jose Enrique Rodriguez from Codurance, that is the managing director, at Codurance. He has a very good experience, more than 18 years in software development, and has a lot of experience implementing software supply chain strategies to protect the software development environment. Also, we have Jonathan Fernandez, okay, from ThoughtWorks. He has been working in software development for more than 14 years in several sectors. Okay, 4 years ago, he had the opportunity to join to ThoughtWorks in the specific area of the security. After several roles in the security area, he is currently the head of security for Europe. So for sure, he is also providing a lot of new ideas. And also, finally, Luis Rodriguez, that is the CTO of Cygeni, okay, with also wide experience in the software supply chain, the static analysis for the code. For sure, he's also providing a lot of good insights today. So just to introduce and to start talking about this, for example, I don't know, Jose, what's your view on this new year regarding these software supply chain topics?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, having this conversation with you guys. Software supply chain and security in the software supply chain. I think it's become very relevant in the past few years. If you look at the statistics, the number of attacks have grown a lot. No, in 2019, we had almost nothing. Last year's reports are around 280,000, something like that, more than the previous 2 years. So it is definitely something that is growing. We've seen it in the news as well. There's plenty of examples like SolarWinds, etc., attacks that are constantly coming out in the news, affecting governments and affecting big companies and small companies. So it's relevant, I think, for everyone. And overall, it's something that is not new, right? It's just the focus is switching towards that, but it's something that has always been there, right? And it's because it's always been there. There are plenty of things that we can do to solve it, and hopefully we'll be talking about some of those today, and helping everyone in that sense.
Thank you very much, Jose. I don't know, Luis, for example, what's your view on this year?
Well, if I have to give an adjective to this year, to the 2023, I would use the adjective turbulent, because there was a lot of minor and major attacks which succeeded. For example, the 3CX, which was the first case of a double attack. First successful supply chain attack that got the opportunity to launch another attack to the end victim, which was 3CX. This was highly publicized because it's a new technique that the attackers employed. But also, well, many highly popular systems like PyTorch in the Python ecosystem were under attack. And at the end of the year, we saw a special case, because this is the case of Ledger. Ledger is a well-known hardware crypto wallet vendor, and they were attacked because they are security aware. They have even a lab specialized on security. They have a bug bounty program. They have everything, but they missed the basics. For example, they have a former employee which used an active NPM account. This was exfiltrated by the attackers, and they published 3 different versions of malware. And the problem is that the clients for this hardware wallet were using a library which dynamically loaded the library, the affected library, without pinning the version. So this opened essentially the wallet, the hardware cyber wallet, for draining funds to a different account. This was quick. In a couple of hours, it was detected and blocked. But even in this short time frame, there was some like 1,600,000 euros lost in direct drains of the crypto wallets. So this is not a thing that we should not be aware of. Obviously, there are many. It was mentioned the critical mark of 250,000 malicious packages deployed last year. Obviously, most of these packages are type squads, are trying to emulate by name popular packages, and most of them have no victims. But it's an amazing number of malicious activity on the popular package registries. So we are looking at the emergence of the supply chain vector attack as one of the preferred mechanisms used by the bad guys. Obviously, they have the same motivations as usual: the money, the spying and sabotage, mainly for the state-backed actors, and also, for example, hacktivism, which is also a new with the new wars. We have new hacktivism. If you add to this mix the emergence of AI-based tools, hacking tools, and the cybercrime as a service offerings you can find in the dark web, and the increased sophistication of the attacks, then I think that we have a very thought and daunting scenario. What I think that we should later talk about how we can reduce the risk.
Techniques, tools, yes.
And just to end, I have just one clarification of terms. When we talk about software supply chain attack, we are not meaning vulnerabilities that my developers add a vulnerability unintentionally. We are talking about real attacks that the bad actors are trying to exploit in our software infrastructure to put malware inside our software to reach our clients, our customers, the users of our software. So they are trying to use as an amplifier, a big amplifier, the software infrastructures. And we made a lot of efforts in the past for improving the quality of the software as a product, but not so much improving the quality of the software infrastructure that are under the software development practices. So I think this is what we could talk in this webinar.
Sure, you have mentioned a lot of different ideas. I think all of them are really interesting. That we are going to deep down in these details. Just to let also Jonathan to introduce or to share his vision and his understanding for this year.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity of being here. Well, I take a couple of notes about what you said. It's really interesting. I agree with both of you, of course. I am also a really positive person. I think that the main reason we are seeing this rise of attack is because we are protecting a little bit better our front doors in companies. We are spending more money. We are hiring more people to taking care of our companies. That's the positive side. On the other side, not so positive. Yes, we are seeing these attacks. When we go to other companies and take a look to the practices they are following, we can see some lack of good practices there. Like, I don't know, for example, it's really common to have companies that don't even have a bill of materials. They don't know the list of components that they are using to build their own software. So if you don't have that list, it's really complicated to control that. I think that there are two main legs here if you want to protect your company. One is the tooling. Have a good tooling for that. It's really necessary. And people is the other one. You mentioned Ledger, Luis. Ledger, I think that there is a component there in this attack, in this specific attack. There's a component of phishing. The former employee was attacked by phishing, I think, if I remember well. That's show you clearly that these two legs. No? You need to protect your company, but also you need to train your people to be able to react. This company react really, really quick. It was impressive, but it looked like the part of the awareness can be improved. All of us can do that. Many companies are just sticking to what is mandatory, like having a yearly mandatory training and nothing more than that. If you want to take if you want to quickly assess if you are investing money or time in that, just ask yourself, what are you doing in your company that is not required by a certification or by a client? What are you doing because you think is the right thing to do? That's a good probably method to assess if you are investing enough in protecting yourself. So yes, just summarizing a good point, but being positive at the same time, we can see the other side of the. Sorry, I interrupt you.
No. It's actually I wanted to segue into that because I wanted to know. Like, I agree that we're doing things better, so we're making it harder for the criminals, or the hacktivists or whoever it is to come in through the front door. Yeah, but I think what that has done, I don't particularly think that has massively improved, so to speak. But what has happened, I think, is the economics of the thing have changed, right? Because it's in the end, these criminals, especially if they're motivated by money and so on, what they want is a payout, right? And the impact, the cost benefit of hacking a company that is less secure, that's maybe giving you access and will get you where you want to go, versus attacking the target directly, is simply completely changed, right? Like if you can now go into companies that are involved in that and gain access, or some of the examples that we mentioned before, SolarWinds, et cetera, hijack updates, this kind of thing, it simply makes it easier. The effort that you need to put into that is a lot less, and the payout is a lot bigger because the effects and the repercussion of this kind of attack is not only on the target that you were originally going for, it's affecting a lot of other people, no, or other companies, right? And that makes it very appealing. No? So I think that that's one of the reasons that I would say the other reason is as well that companies are not paying attention, right? There's a recent survey in the UK. We do, well, our headquarters in the UK. So there's a survey from the government. I think it's called Cybersecurity Breach Survey or something like that. And one of the things that came out of that study is that about 1 in 10 companies are actually looking at the risks from their supply chain, no, software supply chain in this case, right? And that's a problem, right? Because people don't see it as something that is important, therefore it's less, secure, no? Becomes a lot easier to gain that kind of access, no? And I think another factor that has also shifted the landscape a little bit and made it more favorable for criminals to exploit this vector is remote work. Like after COVID and all these things, like companies have had to change completely the way that they were approaching security, because now it's not just about protecting, the assets that you have in the office and access and all these things. That now you have to account for people taking their computer homes, working from there, and other people maybe gaining access. Like there's a lot of things that have changed, and the attack surface has become a lot bigger, no, and easier to access, right? So I think we're doing things great, but also things are shifting. No, they're changing, and criminals are adapting, right? They're going from tactics where they focus on, surgeon kind of, or sniper kind of thing into shotgun mode, right? Like I'm gonna more like a phishing campaign or things like this, right? So it's a bit more for me, on that side.
I think you bring a really important point to the table, the remote working, because it's really common when I see a security questionnaire for vendors, 100 of questions about how is your network infrastructure at the office? Do you have physical firewalls? Do you have? And for most of that questions, you can answer yes, but everybody is at home. So we need to change the way we assess our vendors. We need to make the real questions, not just the checklist that has been working for us for the last 10 years.
At home, nobody knows that.
Excuse me, Luis. Just a very small notice. We are receiving some questions in the chat. Okay, so in some moment, I like to share with you these questions, and for everybody, if someone has any things that would like to ask, please share in the chat that we are gathering all of them. Okay, to share.
We mentioned the remote working. If you are using the same PC, the same laptop for work and for leisure, you have a problem. So this is quite common, because you have the laptop. You don't have 2 laptops, and you are changing one for the other. So you have to take care of that risk. Obviously, if you see at the attacks, how the attacks are developed, how the breach is caused. Probably the attackers look for a developer or for a DevOps engineer, because they have the access, they have the credentials, they have the everything to enter the software infrastructure. So they are the first. If Jonathan mentioned that awareness and training should be focused on this, and I agree at most with your appreciation, because if not, a developer will fall against a spear phishing campaign. So you have to train how you should understand how are the techniques the attackers employ to gather a head breach in your infrastructure. So this is one point that it could be interesting to ask yourself.
Yeah, for sure, because you have mentioned that we have firewalls, we have a different way of working, we have different things, but I think the key point here is that attackers are not attacking the same things that they were attacking a few years ago. Now they are putting focus not just in the code or in the infrastructure, the network infrastructure, but in the ecosystem, the tools and the systems that are used to build and to integrate and to deliver the software packages. So this open a new vector attack. So, for example, Luis, you mentioned at the beginning, this is a change because it's something that we usually haven't protected before. What are the techniques and tools that we should consider for protecting this infrastructure and these new elements that are now the target of these malicious actors?
I can give some ideas. Obviously, if the first point in the attack is the developer, the individual developer or the DevOps engineer, you have to focus on that first breach. So obviously you have to train to make aware of the risk to the teams. And also, you have to take seriously secret leaks prevention. So it's quite common that if you push a commit in a repository and you forget to exclude the in the git ignore file, you ignore to exclude the env file with the credentials. So at the end, this ends in the repository. If the repository is public, you are done. you are aware. If you build for example, an image, a container image using this env file, the hackers are using automated tools to search for that secret files in the published images, so container images. So it's quite easy for attackers to gain the essential element to enter my software infrastructure.
I think that I see every day that many developers doing that, following that bad practices of pushing secrets to a repository. It happens a lot, and sometimes some companies, not all, said, "Well, it's a private repository." Even in that situation, even if it's a private repository, please don't do that. And it's not only about training the people for not doing it and explaining what's a bad practice, which is something needs to be done, but also having something in place to prevent that to happen, to have a secret scanner like Detect Secrets or Talisman configured like using a commit hook to prevent that to happen in an automatic way. So you don't rely in, you are avoiding basically just a developer having a bad day, because that can happen to everyone. You know, everyone can have a bad day and include a secret just for testing purposes and then not removing it, and it's pushed to a repository. And even if you delete that, you need to rewrite the history. It's really an onerous task to really remove that. And even if you remove that, it's only a cosmetic fix. What you need to do is to rotate the key. And fixing that or avoiding that is as easy as using a proper tool configuring your laptop. It's a matter of someone explaining to people that this can be done and how they can do it without losing a lot of time or impacting their productivity.
Because we're talking about secrets being leaked, that kind of thing, but it's important to remember that the whole software supply chain goes beyond just your pipeline or your infrastructure and so on. It goes all the way to how you disposed of your equipment, right? Because that's like that developer finished, his laptop stopped working or whatever. You want to get rid of it, and then someone gets that laptop, gets the hard drive or whatever, and recover some of the information. You still have that problem. Yeah, like you don't, even if people didn't do anything wrong, things can still happen. And we've seen it, and these are companies like, Microsoft, Tesla, etc. So not that long ago, there was this security researcher, Alex Breeze, I think he's called, or Bryce, I don't remember, who basically noticed that if you, there were lots of packages and things that were configured to go into internal repositories, right? Well, artifact repositories, right? And he said, okay, so what happens if I publish a package with the same name? This is a private thing that you have inside your company, right? And I publish a package with the same name, but in a public repository that is part of the chain of whatever repository that you're using to get your stuff, right? What happens? It defaults to the public one. Yeah. So then he was able to bring stuff into your build, basically, that he had complete control over, right? And this is, again, it was repeated all over the place, like with Ruby packages, with Java packages, all over. And this is how companies like Google, Tesla, etc., also got affected by this thing, right?
This is a namespace problem that we watch at some attacks, real attacks, not theoretical ones. This is the dependency confusion is named.
So the human factor is a very important factor. Yeah, you need to train people to be aware of security, but sometimes that's not enough, because everything everything that you use, even third-party providers, you maybe think that you're running, you're using some SaaS to run tests or to whatever. That can also be compromised. That can also be, like there's other examples like Codecov and this kind of thing that offer, these are tools to integrate into your pipeline, and do things like coverage reports, etc., etc. All of those things can impact you, even if you're doing things right. So there's that aspect of prevention, and then there's the aspect of detecting and mitigating, everything, because it can still go wrong. If you're able to find out that it's gone wrong fairly fast, and you see some of these stories that we're going to be talking about, the time between the breach and when it actually got patched or whatever, it could be months, right? That's a lot of people that can be affected by this. That's a lot of time for a company to have, some downtime, so yeah, it's both, like you need to protect against the mistakes and try to, but also let's put systems in place, that allow you to detect when something is not going the way that you want, and act.
As the dwell time, for example, in the case of SolarWinds attack, it was months, was awesome, and also we see a lot of time. You mentioned that everything can be compromised, and what we see a lot in different companies is that different departments decide what kind of tool they want to use, which is awesome because you are bringing all the autonomy to the teams. And in terms of productivity, this is great. I'm not putting any criticism on that. But at the same time, if you have a front-end team using GitHub Actions, a backend team using Jenkins, and a data team using Bamboo, you are multiplying by 3 the attack surface, basically. And you need to maintain and patch triple the systems that you should be doing. And probably this is the right decision. Depending on the case, there is no silver bullet. The point I'm trying to make is that the attack surface should be one of the points you need to take in account when you are taking up the decision of which infrastructure and what kind of product or vendors or third-party software are you using.
Also, sorry, just a minute. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. With this point, I would like to introduce one thing regarding the things you are mentioning now.
Okay. There is one thing that when we talk to the organizations, we see that there are many misunderstandings and many unknown spots in the software infrastructure. For example, one typical case is that pipelines, CI/CD pipelines, are vulnerable to injection, to code injection. Even if you don't have access to perform a commit or change a file in the SCM system in the code repository, maybe you can open a pull request, and if you choose appropriately the subject of the pull request, you can inject arbitrary code that is running in the runner of the CI/CD system, and you can exfiltrate secrets. the secrets that you are using to publish your packages to the registries. So you are done. And many teams don't know anything about the vulnerabilities that this kind of CI/CD systems allow, and don't know in a code review they don't know where to look at, because they don't know that there is a problem there.
Yeah, the visibility topic. We can return to this topic later. You were mentioned that, for example, Jose mentioned that we have to protect the components in order to ensure that we are using the proper artifact repository and these kind of things. Jonathan mentioned at the beginning also that we have to change the how we assess our providers, for example. Okay, so this is okay, like the third-party integration and third-party end-to-end security. In this sense, for example, Jonathan, how do you think that we have to start assessing the vendors, how we integrate the software from third parties, if we have to do anything else than we do now? And then taking benefit of this point, just to introduce one question is that we have in the chat is, okay, how do I generate the XBOM, SBOM, or any type of BOM, okay? And how can I integrate it along the end-to-end supply chain with not only inside my organization, but also in accordance with the partners or the providers and these kind of things? I don't know, probably you can start, Jonathan, that you introduce the assessment changes.
For assessment, for doing a proper assessment of a vendor, you need to, depending on how big is your company, but ideally you will want to involve several people. Legal people, of course, to make a proper review of the contract. You need to involve your risks department to check what kind of risk, because accepting risk is part of the business, but you need to know what kind of risk you are accepting. And the risk department ideally will be able to help you with that. Apart from that, what you need is to know better this vendor, to establish a close relationship with the vendor, not only sending a questionnaire about, hey, do you have a pen testing executive summary from the last year? No, it's better to have a direct conversation with the CISO of the company and have a general view of the good practices that these companies are following. Sometimes we just ask for a certification, which is good, but this is not a guarantee. It's more effective to have a talk with the security department of the vendor and have a rough view of the practices that are being followed by default on that company. I mean, questionnaires are useful. This should be the screening phase. After that, you need to have a conversation. The same way when you hire an employee. First, you have a screening conversation to be sure that this person is a good fit, and then you have the interview. Following the same pattern, it's probably the way to go. Sadly, we stop in the first one, just send in the questionnaire. Yeah. You have the certification. We are ready to go.
It has to be continuous, probably in these parties where SBOM and all these new formats.
One small detail I want to add about vendor assessment. There are a lot of companies that do assessment, then start working with a vendor, and they never review this relationship. You need to review this relationship every now and then. People change, companies are acquired by other companies, ways of working change. You need to review this relationship.
I don't know, probably Luis or Jose, how do you think that SBOM or
I agree.
Ways to implement this regular review?
SBOM gain a lot of attention due to the SolarWinds incident and the assessment that CISA and other agencies performed and NIST, and they decided to, yes, we need an SBOM, and we need to if you want to work with federal agencies, you have to provide an SBOM. But what is the SBOM? The SBOM is a bill of materials. It's just a list. And what is the real effect for the list? You have to understand that the dependencies, yes, is better than nothing, but how do you gain anything from the list? You need to know which are the vulnerabilities that are introducing in your as a software user by using that components. And you need also the vulnerability list associated with the SBOM, the plain SBOM. So the SBOM is not enough. You need many more technically.
No, it's true. It's true. But CISA is actually trying to get something else in. This is not mandatory yet or anything like that. But there's the whole BEX concept, right? Like the vulnerability exploitability exchange. So basically, your the vendor that you're using would be required, let's say, to notify you of what are those vulnerabilities, whether they are exposed or not, what level of exposure it was, et cetera, right? Like, can it be exploited or not? Because a lot of the things, yes, you may be, there might be a vulnerability, but you're either not using the code that is vulnerable, or you have some other checks in place that prevent that from being exploitable, and so on, right? So I think it's not enough for sure, yeah, but it's a good first step into trying to get the hang of what to look at, and even when something happens, how to react or what to monitor and so on, right? So that's a good first step, I would say. If you don't have one, start putting one in place, because it will facilitate that job moving forward, yeah. But I agree, it's not the only thing. That just having a bill of materials is not gonna save you, from
having a centralized place for storing this bill of material and a procedure that you need to follow to include a new component in this bill of material will help you to have some kind of governance. So you cannot just start using a new component just because you want, without checking that there is any other company being used inside your company that for the same purpose. So it's also a way to stop spreading the dependencies and relying on hundreds of components you have no control over. So
yeah, it allows you to find out what's happening, and again, there's no reason why this couldn't be turned into some sort of database that people can actually query, to understand what that looks like. But if people are not inventorying, they're not putting things into an inventory yet, then that's not possible, right? So I think as a policy, let's put it like that, it's a good first step in that direction.
I have two ideas to add to what discussed. First is the inventory. Inventory is not only the components, but the elements that you are using to build the software. For example, the pipelines, the software pipelines. As Jonathan mentioned, you can have different teams with different tools, and they are using different CI/CD systems with different pipelines. So many organizations we talk with don't know what are the pipelines they are using for building their software. And the second idea is the attestation, the provenance, which is one of the elements in this, for example, in SALSA framework. And it's in addition to the SBOM concept, but targeting the provenance, the origin of the software, how the software was built, which is the commit, the exact source code that produced this end artifact, and all of that. So you can have not only the list of the components of the software, but how the software was built and against which source code, which is quite important for tracing which was the entry for building the end artifact. It's another concept that is gaining traction in the software security ecosystem.
And again, it's not one practice that will save you from it's a combination of things that actually makes it secure, So
there are a lot of documents, a lot of JSON files that you have to take aware. You have to sign the images. You have to do a lot of things. So you have to automate a lot to gain all the elements. Should be the artifacts, the nuke, artifacts should be accompanied with different documents for a specific purpose. I think this is the idea.
Thank you very much. Just to move forward to another topic that we introduced also at the beginning, we are facing a new era, let's say, regarding the artificial intelligence, not only to develop, but also to try to attack things using artificial intelligence. And I think, for example, you mentioned also before that the the government, after several attacks, are taking some measures in order to put in place new regulations and new things. So, for example, how do you see the usage, or how can we protect against new ways of attack using artificial intelligence, or the risk of using large language model to support the development process? And how do you see the efforts from the European Union, for example, to put in place some new regulations to support the institutions to force them to adopt new measures to protect against these new trends? I don't know if anyone is familiar with some kind of attacks on
there's two questions there. No, one is AI, and is that helping protect in a different way now that it's helping change the attacks? No, is it also helping with the countermeasures for that? That was the first question, correct?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then the second one is around how AI is impacting the tooling that we're using to build software as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they are introducing new risk using this kind of tools, introducing new risk and new threats that we were not.
And did you mention something about the European Union's laws or so on? Yeah, because again, the US is I think quite ahead in many regards to when it comes to that kind of stuff compared to the European. That's my opinion, no, but they are taking steps like the whole. I think now in January. Something called the EUCC, which is basically a certification scheme, got approved. I think it was proposed last year, at the end of last year, something along those lines. And it gives ENISA kind of a mandate, to build the capability of cybersecurity inside the European Union, but also there's this now, voluntary certification process that you can take. I would expect in the future that to become a bit more prevalent. If you want to sell software, hardware, whatever in the European market, to conform to that. I think that's a good step that the European Union is taking. The US has started this quite some time ago. There's, I think Biden, like a couple of years back, started the whole thing, and NIST and CISA and all of these have been implementing changes like the bill of materials and this kind of stuff into the guidelines that they have, requiring it for health industry, PCI compliance, that kind of thing, right? So they're kind of strengthening the system through the regulations and this kind of thing. Now, with regards to the AI aspect, the European Union is still defining what that looks like. I think they're also working on a second thing for managed services as well after the Kaseya incident and all this. For those who don't know, because the Kaseya thing is so software that was used to remotely administer and provide services got hijacked, inserted malicious content and so on. And not only the service provider got affected, but everyone that they were serving got affected. So that definitely forces them to take a look at how these people are doing things and kind of trying to introduce certain constraints or guidelines into what proper security should look like. But again, it's a very slow process. It's laws, right? So it needs to go through lots of hoops. So you can expect this to be still going on for a very long time, like years.
I'm sad to say I agree. Recently, we have the EU Council really happy. They were really happy in social network because they agree a common position on the Cyber Resilience Act. But when you take a look to the text of this act, it's really, really basic. I mean, it's something that everyone should be doing from years ago. If you, but it's a starting point. Okay, it's better than nothing. But come on, we can go a little bit. We don't want to lose the step. We want to we need to be quicker, basically, because the technology will not wait for you. If we in 2022 they decided to strengthen the requirements for the ICT supply chains, the information and communications technologies for public procurement and for basically the internal framework that they are using. 2022, we didn't hear anything since 2022, mid 2022. Probably they need to do more. I mean, they are in the right way, but they are not quick enough for the needs of the market.
And again, it's a European Union thing, so you need to get all the governments on
Exactly.
board with
Then
this.
every
So it's not as
will...
easy. It's not as easy. It's easier for a country to kind of do it on their own than it is for something that, let's say, distributed, or without a centralized right.
Then we will have the problem of every single country doing a different interpretation of the law or of the act or the
no, but before that there was a different thing called the senior officers group or something like that. It was a thing from the 90s, where basically it was kind of like, okay, you're going to certify people, we're going to certify people. How do we make sure? It's almost like universities. No, you give him a degree, like how do I make sure that they can come to my university and do that? That was kind of the gist, no? But it's not enough. It's not enough, and there's more that needs to be done on that front. You also don't want it. The thing with this thing with legislation and stuff, you don't want it to stagnate innovation either, right? So before we were talking about AI as well, right? So you have the case of Italy running ChatGPT and all these things, no? Then you need to strike a balance, no, between allowing people to try things out and innovate and and push the envelope, no, but doing it in a secure way as well, right? And I think that's one of the things where it's going to be harder, no? And we talked about things like Copilot and aiding in software development and this kind of thing. Well, there's new attacks, no? Well, not new attacks, I would say, but attacks that have been aided by the attacker expecting the developer to be using ChatGPT, right? And I don't know, hallucinate the name of a library, right? And then add it to the project, and then it turns out that library doesn't exist, but was created by the attacker, and then it so that kind of thing. Yes, it will continue to happen. I'm not so sure when we talk about AI, large language models. It's a different thing than machine learning and so on, which has been used in the past for a very long time already. Detecting intrusion detection systems and this kind of thing, right? Like detecting abnormal behavior inside an endpoint or whatever. Those things are being used, right? The whole endpoint security, now that people take their computers home and they're like, those things, those are very prevalent, very relevant at the moment, and a lot of those systems are using machine learning to detect patterns and this kind of thing, to kind of point, hey, this is something fishy. I don't know what it is, but you should look into it, right? And that kind of stuff. So definitely with the volume for the attacks, which has increased thanks to AI and so on, the tools have also been incorporating all of these things so that you can kind of put up with the volume of the attacks themselves. Yeah.
There is also an addition on the dark side, because they are, for example, the bad guys are repurposing existing GPT models for example, personalizing the spear phishing campaigns. They are also, for example, taking existing ChatGPT-like systems for crafting attacks. Obviously, if the LLM system is not trained on malware, it will not work. But they are training on existing malware to gain variants of the malware, and they are using that for crafting more powerful attacks, using something that seems to be in a sandbox, which is the LLM system. And also they are using for example, probably for recognize of the weaknesses of the target victims. So they are using also the tools for the bad. the knife used for the bad, for killing victims.
Certainly.
Mhm. Fantastic. Lot of good ideas. Let's wait for some advances in the regulation, but I think that probably in some specific sectors more related with the bank and finance would be interesting to accelerate that part.
Oh, there's more stuff like bank and finance and healthcare and all this. Like there's the DORA thing, like digital operations resilience act for finance and so on, where they're now required to inform. That actually, a lot of these things will require to inform when there has been breach or incidents, this kind of stuff. I think they have. I don't know if it's 24 months to start complying and reporting all of this stuff. And 36 months to kind of comply to the whole legislation and stuff. So again, it's coming, but it's coming quite slow. And the best thing you can do right now is just take care of it. Security doesn't work retroactively, right? Like you need to do it today so that tomorrow you don't have the problem, right?
Okay.
So yeah, you need to start somewhere.
As a comparison, in US, as a comparison, we have the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission rule. They just disclosed a new rule that it's already in place, that make you have to report to the regulator any breach in 4 days if you are a public company. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference.
Very different.
Just one thing. There is a clear trend in the regulation framework, which is the framework is shifting from the users to the suppliers. So, for example, the secure by design and secure by default principles, which are nice, they are trying to enforce, making liable for the vendor, the software vendor, for the bad things that happens for the users of the software. So I think this is good, because the burden should be on the supplier, not on the consumer, as usual with the other products. But I think that we will see many changes in the regulation frameworks on this point.
It's going to be challenging, because I mean it's acceptable to any company to release a product that you think today it's safe, but it's really risky to say my product will be safe in 5 years.
Yeah, at least you have to make clear which are the conditions and for that statement. Okay.
Sorry, we have reached the maximum time a few minutes ago. Just to finish and to close, just a couple of minutes for each of you, in order just to summarize 1-2 takeaways for our audience. Okay, just to summarize your most important things for this year regarding security and software supply chain. I don't know the order that you prefer. Jonathan, for example.
Yes, sorry, can you repeat the last part?
Yeah, just to finish, just a couple of minutes for you, just to summarize your takeaways for the audience with your most relevant things for this year.
My takeaways, it's probably already the same couple of points that I mentioned at the very beginning. Invest in having the right tooling, and invest in making your people grow and to foster a security culture inside your company, not the security culture of the company. The culture inside the company is not only a responsibility of the security department. Everyone needs to do their part. Anyone needs to be aware of what is happening and the risk that they are assuming. And our part, the part of the security department, is also create this awareness and make people accountable for the security in their departments. So yes, right people and right tooling, and it's a good starting point. It's not enough, but it's a good starting point.
Thank you very much. Jose?
I'd say that security doesn't work retroactively. You need to start today if you want to to get the benefits. No, so start, even if it's a small thing, even if it's just phishing awareness, even if it's just putting in place some the business continuity plan or disaster recovery, or this kind of thing that seems like, oh, what are we doing? Well, you're doing it because if one day you need it, that's not the day to learn. No? So you need to work on these things, even if they don't seem like something that you will necessarily need. And a lot of times I hear people saying, well, but we're not this big company, so we're kind of flying under the radar. Well, now the focus is not on the big company. The focus is on the company flying under the radar that company use or will allow access to. So you become a target as well, right? And that is something that you need to be aware. And there's a lot of other things that you may think that are not that important. Like, I think Jonathan mentioned this at the beginning. The whole concept of shadow IT. This department is using this tools, and there's another one too is using another tool, and eventually, if there's no oversight over those things, it's very easy for things to go wrong. No, at least if someone with malicious intent can definitely exploit that. So you need to reduce as much as possible that exposure, that you have, and sometimes that's not going to be nice because people won't be able to do whatever they want. But it definitely pays off. So yeah, just start taking some steps, and if one step at a time, you'll get there. At least that will be my advice.
Thank you very much, Jose. Please.
Okay, I agree with most of the things you said. So just to add something, first, I think that awareness and training of the key people in the teams in the software area is key, because they are the first elements to be under attack. The second thing I think is we should review the procedure for incident response, because it will happen. It will happen some maybe a strong attack or a fair attack, but we don't know. We have to be quick in response, and we have to update our existing procedure for incident response against the software supply chain attack. We will see probably more transparency on the incident details, because when an organization like SolarWinds get the attack, the security analysts provided a lot of information about the details of how the software malware worked, but we don't have any idea on how they gain the entry point in the software infrastructure of the victim, of the vendor that suffered the attack. So I think that with the new regulation, we will have more transparency on the incident details, which is key to learn, to understand how to avoid this kind of things. Just to end, I would like to give a optimistic message. Because if you put if you take into account the major risks, you can get a significant risk mitigation with a small number of key well-chosen techniques. So it's a good. It's not everything lost. I would like to end with that.
Thank you very much, Luis. Thank you very much to everybody also, and sorry for take some more minutes than expecting. Okay, I hope these ideas and this knowledge has been useful for you, and you have some new tips for your day-to-day or for your plan this year. And just remind that we are sending an email with the details about the small summary of the talks, and to share also the recording if you want to review in detail later. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much, Luis, Jose, and Jonathan, also for sharing with us your thoughts and your experience. Okay, see you in the next talk. Okay,
Thanks.
bye.
It was a pleasure.
A pleasure also. Thanks.
Bye.